Hello, and welcome to the WISEST STEM Mentoring Series, Learning from the Women that Inspire Us. This series will be comprised of 5 segments, taking you through different topics like the challenges of pursuing STEM, schooling experiences, and general STEM career advice, just to list a few. If you pledge to participate, or your teacher pledged to participate, you will have received a corresponding worksheet. If not, send us an email at wisest.outreach@ualberta.ca and we'll get it to you as soon as we can. Without further ado, we're going to be listening in on schooling, from grade school to university.
Where you are today. Leah, let's start with you.
I just always really liked numbers. So my parents used to buy me a lot of books like numbers for kids or like math experiments, science experiments for kids. And I just did a lot of those in my spare time. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. So I didn't really have my siblings to hang out with growing up. So they're much older than me. So I focused a lot on just like books. And yeah, just doing it at home. I was that kid who had the at-home experiment chemistry kit. So I did a lot of that, and I love puzzles. I still do puzzles up to this day. So I think that's where a lot of my background led me to getting into science. And I just always really enjoyed those courses in high school and junior high. And I remember in grade 9, my friend and I had a competition to see who can get 100 on their math provincial exam. So that's kind of the child I was.
That's awesome. Yeah. How about you?
For me, I wouldn't say I did anything really specific. I was always really good at math and science. So I was really good at that when I was in high school and junior high. And then when I went to university, I actually started in arts just for a year. And in that program, I really found that I loved my calculus courses, which was very strange for an art student. So that sort of led me to change into a STEM career because I loved my calculus class so much and I just wanted to do more. So I changed it to engineering.
Cool. And now I know you grew up in a rural town.
Yeah.
Did that, do you think that limited you? Do you have any tips maybe for students who might be growing up in a rural town?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't have a lot of role models in STEM, but I didn't really see myself in a STEM career when I was younger. I honestly didn't really think about it, so I wasn't really looking for those role models, but certainly they are there. You just have to reach out to them, and there's different programs like the WISEST Summer Research Program, which is amazing, and I wish I had looked into that when I was younger. So there's a lot of opportunities there. You just sort of have to go out of your way to find them or ask your teachers or older students who are already in university.
Cool. As for me, when I was in grade 2, I won a science fair with my project on how to save the manatees. And that definitely set me out down the path that I'm on today. I couldn't tell you how to save the manatees today, but I don't remember what I put. I do have a friend who did her PhD in that research, but winning the grand prize for that science fair was actually going to a science camp. And so I went to that science camp as long as I could. And then when I couldn't go there anymore, I became a camp counselor. And so that was kind of the way that what really kind of put me down that path and to decide to work in the STEM field.
Okay, this is just giving you a little bit of a timeline as to how old I am, but the term STEM wasn't really used when I was in school. Because let's say I'm north of 50 and we'll leave it there. But there was, I grew up on a farm, and a lot of the interest I had in the human body is I knew a number of people who had suffered various farming accidents. There was a young man in my elementary school that had a prosthetic limb because he had lost an arm at like the age of 4. Mm-hmm. And I was just always fascinated by how do people adapt when they have injuries. And so that was one of the reasons that kind of led me to where I went. The other thing is, and I don't know, I actually was thinking about this earlier because when I was asked to be on the panel, I know that there's this perception out there that teachers in schools tend to, go to the boys for when it's science and math and go to the girls maybe for when it's like English and arts based and all that. I don't remember either in elementary school or high school, like maybe I was just obnoxious enough and such a pain with let me answer that. But my teachers all seemed to just be very encouraging when I obviously showed an aptitude for science and for math. And I still remember in about grade 9 or 10, we did an aptitude test for what type of career you should go into. And mine came back research scientist. It was like very obvious. It's like,
So did mine.
research scientist, yes.
Yeah.
And all my teachers were very encouraging, even though I have to admit it sounds bad, but like I think across the sciences and math in my high school, I had one female
Really?
math. I think she was a math teacher. Yeah, none of my science teachers were female. Sorry, but they were all like. And the other thing I think helped is my parents. My mom is both a elementary school teacher and an RN, and a registered nurse, and my dad was a farmer. And but they were very much, we'll support you in whatever you want to do. They weren't expecting me to, choose to do this or do that, or any of my brothers and sister that way. So when I showed an aptitude towards that, my mom was like, oh, well, here's my nursing textbooks, and here's my journals and all this sort of stuff. So
That's great.
between teachers and my parents, they were just extremely encouraging. But there was no STEM, and there was like no WISEST, as far as I knew, at any of the universities close to my hometown. And so, but it wasn't like, oh, you can't go into science because you're a girl. I never got that. So
Well,
that was
great.
Yeah, that
That's
was
a good
like,
thing.
yeah. Though I probably wouldn't have listened to them anyway. Now I think about it.
Personally, if I was in high school, I think I would have gotten more involved in terms of like extracurriculars and STEM outside of school. So not just taking the courses that I need, but actually getting involved in different kinds of programs like WISEST and different programs that the university offers.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I would have looked into other opportunities for me in STEM. So in UAlberta, there may not be the most opportunities, but there's the WISEST summer research program, which I would have loved to have taken advantage of and things like that. And then I think that would have helped me probably go right into STEM instead of taking my year in arts and then diving into STEM. So.
Yeah, well, and I think especially if you're in a rural community now, there's a lot of online opportunities that you might be able to join in,
Yeah.
And get experience that way too, definitely. Yeah.
Actually, so there is a chemistry advisory office here. Her name was Julie McDermott, and she was actually a really great resource for me. And I bounced so many questions off of her. And actually, the Career Center here at the U of A helped me a lot to help me just figure out how to even write a resume, how to showcase my skills, how best to present myself as a brand, because that was something that was completely foreign to me as well. So if you are willing to look for it, the resources are there to help you.
So for engineering, once I was in the program, there are so many resources there, especially through the co-op program. So they really allow you to try your hand at engineering in different industries, and you get to work with different people. So that's a lot of the time how you meet your mentors. And then also the professors, especially at the U of A, are amazing. So a ton of my professors have become my mentors, one in particular. So it's really great to make those connections, and you can even make the connections with the grad students who are your TAs. So there's a lot of different resources for you, and even just talking to the older students to figure out what type of engineering you want to go into or what type of jobs you want to do. But really the co-op program is one of the main resources for engineering, especially when you're looking at getting your career afterwards.
Awesome. Yeah. So for me, excuse me, again, I didn't go to university in Canada, but my program for undergrad was really specialized. And so there were a lot of kind of specific forestry type opportunities that a lot of the classes ended up training us for. I know I specifically took a couple field courses that were like, if you want to get this job at the Forest Service, we're going to teach you how to do it, because that's kind of where a lot of different types of jobs were. So I took a bunch of classes like that. And then a lot of, in terms of kind of finding a direction, a lot of that was just, again, talking to grad students and other fellow undergrads and professors and those types of things to try to figure out what I'm interested in and what kind of path I wanted to take. Yeah. All right. How that may differ. Go ahead,
So throughout most of my undergrad, I was taking 5 courses a term. So I would wake up at around 7 and get ready for school. My first class would usually be at around 9. And so I would go to classes. I prefer my classes to be back to back and then have like a single break in between. And so I would do that, and then I would go to the rest of my classes. I would finish school at around 2 or 3 most days. If I had a lab, I would go to that, and labs would be from 2 to 5. So they're typically 3 hours long for most courses. And and if I was volunteering that day, that shift would usually start at around 3, and so I would volunteer for an hour, and after that it would just be eating and studying, and then maybe if I have time, I hit the gym, and yeah.
Okay. And so I would say that sounds pretty typical for an undergraduate. How about you? How is it different now as a graduate student?
So as a grad student, I have way more flexibility. I took classes for 8 months, but now I'm just doing research, so I have not more free time necessarily, but I can be more flexible with my schedule. If I don't want to roll in till 10, I really don't have to. If I'm doing an experiment, I do have to be here early, and my experiments take all day. Not everyone's is like that, but so if I was doing an experiment, it would take me all day, and then I would go home and either do some writing or go for a run or something like that. And if I wasn't doing an experiment, my day's even more flexible, and I do some writing and some other maybe volunteering and then back to writing. So being a grad student, you definitely have a very flexible schedule, and it's kind of up to you whether or not you finish everything or not. So, I definitely prefer it over undergrad because I don't have to go to classes anymore. But so it's a little different.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
So Heidi, let's start with you this time.
I guess during university, I really liked my courses. I really loved studying, which sounds, it's true. I just love my courses, and I didn't really do a lot of extracurriculars. Looking back, I would definitely change that now and get more involved in the clubs, but I was really focused on my classes, and then I did a co-op program, so I got to do some work in between my courses, which was awesome because I got to see what it would be like to be an engineer. But mostly during university, I really focused on academics, but there are so many different clubs that you can join, especially in engineering. They have all these really cool clubs that I wish I had looked into when I was in undergrad as well.
Can you explain a little bit more about what the co-op program is and how that can help students?
Yeah, so it's, I know they have it in other programs as well, but for engineering, it's 20 months of work experience. So it adds 1 year onto your degree, but you get to work for 3 different companies for 8 or 4 month terms. So it's really good experience. And it's actually how I found my job after I graduated undergrad, which was amazing. And it made it really easy for me to find work afterwards. And I got to see, I got to work in 3 different industries. So figuring out which type of engineer I wanted to be and what environment I wanted to work in. So it was really beneficial, and you get paid for it as well, which is really helpful too during school.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, just to add on to that, the company I work for, they take on a lot of co-op students from the U of A, and that's one of the biggest things that they love is seeing the diversity in the actual world of engineering that they didn't know existed when they're kind of just set in their own pocket of the specialization that they're going to, whether it's civil or mechanical or chemical. And so if you ever get an opportunity to do the co-op course, it's a really good benefit to your degree. The chemistry department, they don't actually have co-ops. They have something called an industrial internship program, and it's really small, and only like 5 people are ever able to get into it in a year. So it's not something that's really commonly advertised. For myself here, I was actually part of the Chemistry Students Association. So I did a lot of outreach there and tried to get people more engaged into the world of chemistry and understanding chemistry a little bit better. I also co-chaired the undergraduate chemistry conference that was held at the U of A. I just kind of did a lot around school, and I did undergraduate research with Dr. Todd Lowry, working on pharmaceuticals for tuberculosis, which was really fun to do, and carried that on a little bit after I finished my degree too, because I just wasn't really sure where I was heading yet.
Yeah. So for me, my first semester in university, I was super lost. I really struggled in all my classes. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I changed my major 3 times in that first semester. But then by the time I started my second semester, I took this one course that was called Forest and Shade Tree Pathology, which was actually all about tree diseases and different types of tree diseases. And it completely changed my worldview. And in that same semester, I also applied for this fellowship program, and I spent a lot of time talking to the professor for it. And she's this amazing botanist, and she's also a really strong Indigenous woman and super inspiring in so many ways. And so she really encouraged me to kind of go into that, and she also gave me undergraduate research experience, which is huge. So my very first summer after university, I started off doing undergraduate research, and that I think made a huge difference for me. It really opened my eyes to seeing the different types of things that I can do. And so that undergraduate research enabled me to get a job with the Forest Service. It enabled me to be able to do all of those sorts of things as well. And I didn't go to the University of Alberta, but I know the University of Alberta does have this program called URI, which is the Undergraduate Research Initiative. And that is a really great place for you. It's a great resource for anybody who is looking to do undergraduate research, because that's definitely the best thing that I did as an undergrad. And often, actually, the way that I found my research is I just went up to the professors during their office hours that I was really interested in classes that I was really interested in, and I made myself known to them. And I went up and said, hey, I'm super into this, or is there any jobs? Are there any opportunities? And I went to university in the US, and so I was able to travel all around parts of the US to help to do research. It was really cool.
Yeah, I did the same thing, just poking your instructors because they're a really good resource. And then I found one whose research aligned with something that I liked. So it worked out.
And actually, that's probably my number one piece of advice to any university student, especially somebody who's been a TA, a teaching assistant for multiple courses as well in the past, is make yourself known to your instructors. It makes them more likely to help you. It makes them more likely to give you opportunities, and it usually makes your grades better too, which can't hurt, right? So take advantage of those office hours. If I can tell you how many times I just sat in my office waiting for people to come to my office hours and nobody showed up. I don't even have enough fingers and toes for that.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you learned something new. If you have any questions you'd like answered, send them over to us at wisest.outreach@ualberta.ca. We'll try to answer them in our Q&A segment on Friday, May 15th.